Jaylen Brown is actually sitting out. He'll miss the 65-game threshold. I'll dive into that. Plus mailbag questions about the math that will lead to the Celtics winning and hometown discounts this offseason. It's all right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Yup. Beantown, be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Back to back, if I say it, it's stamped. Locked on number 19, the best one, the next one. Juice loose in your pool now for the next run. It's the C's, who else could it be? What they gon' say now? Screaming like JT, Karalis, recap the madness. Every game, every practice. Best daily pod, no cap like Brad Beckett. Clutch like Drew to KP, tap in daily. Primetime Devin D. White on the sideline. Rain and Jace, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. And I got you covered every Monday through Friday with a free podcast that drops directly to your device. No bonus podcasts on Friday night after the Celtics play the Charlotte Hornets. Unless something major happens, I'm going to put the two Hornets games together in one podcast for Monday. But when they do play on the weekends, this is playoffs, I will have a lot of bonus podcasts for you. So make sure you're subscribed, watch the show on YouTube, get into the comment section there, share your thoughts with me, John Karalis. I've been covering the Boston Celtics for about 20 years now, doing it as a beat writer now for Boston Sports Journal. I've also written a couple of books, so go check those out as well. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. I'm going to open up the mailbag today, getting into postseason awards. Casey Jones, should there be a movement for Casey Jones to get into the Hall of Fame? Hometown discounts this offseason. But let me start with Jaylen Brown. By the way, mailbag questions can be sent in to johnkaralis.com/mailbag. Do that whenever you want. I will get them all. And then when I have opportunities to do mailbag shows, I will answer as many of them as I can. So johnkaralis.com/mailbag to get your questions in. I got to start with Jaylen because Jaylen Brown is sitting. He's sitting out the Charlotte game on Friday night. That means he will not get to 65 games. He will not be eligible for postseason awards. And I am surprised. And listen, I've been tough on Jaylen, and I've questioned the decisions to play him in recent games. I don't have inside knowledge on this particular thing. My feeling is he tried. He wanted to push for the 65. I think a couple of things happened. I think that Knicks game was pretty informative that he could not move the way he wants to move, and he's hurting himself. He's hurting his postseason chances. And I don't think that Jaylen wants to be the guy that put individual goals ahead of postseason goals. I think that played a role in it. Think maybe somebody got to him and said, hey, buddy, no one's putting you on their all NBA ballots. You're not making it this year. So, and you're not helping your case by playing. It's not like he had a rock solid first team all NBA case and the knee thing happened at the end. It's not like Jayson Tatum is going to be a first team all NBA guy. If the situation was reversed and he was the one trying to get to 65 games, at least I would understand that. So I think some of that came into play. That's my opinion. But I will say I've been hard on him, and he said that 65 games was not part of his calculus here. And, you know, no matter what my opinion is at this point, he's going to be able to say, I told you I wasn't trying to play 65 games. I'm not playing 65 games. I'm sitting out this game, probably the last game now against Charlotte as well. I'm trying to get myself right. It was never about the postseason. And he can say that, and no one can ever dispute it. No one can ever dispute it. Even though I think the actions of him and the Celtics over the past few games kind of didn't jive with that. But the good news, I think this is good. Jaylen's going to sit, get this rest. He's going to have at least now a full week. He didn't play in this last game. So a week and a half of rest, whatever that means during practice time, he's not going to have to practice necessarily. He can go through walkthroughs. He's going to go through film. He's going to do he can do light stuff, I'm sure, but he can take it easy on the knee. There are some people who will say you can sit him out in that first round, which is probably true. Doesn't matter who they face, Orlando, Atlanta, whomever. If he needed to sit out the first round, then I think the Celtics would be just fine, right? Like they would just be Orlando is they did what they did against the Celtics, but also they couldn't even put up 100 points against the Celtics second unit. And if they were playing like that against Boston's first unit, it would not have gone well. But regardless, the Celtics have some options here with Jaylen. Jaylen has the option to sit out for a while, try to get his knee right. I don't know if he said the rest probably doesn't matter. And if that's the case, then he can come back and try to play through it. It's very interesting. The not playing against Charlotte changes a little bit here because I was 100% sure that he was going for it, and for whatever reason he stopped going for it. And I think everybody can breathe a sigh of relief because I just don't think he's not able to be Jaylen Brown or even a modified version of Jaylen Brown, right? So I understand not wanting to miss an opportunity to adjust your game, which you should. Get into the post, figure things out, figure out how to operate high post, mid post, figure out how to get into your spots, be less of a ball handler, more of a spacer. How do you do some of these things? Can you get to that shot, that middle of the lane, big fadeaway? Jaylen takes this big, long fadeaway that he jumps basically from the dots out past the free throw line. It seems like he floats and he's able to hit that shot. That's not going to be a shot that he takes necessarily. Can he change the arc on the shot to get that up a little bit more to avoid it getting blocked? All that kind of stuff is certainly stuff that he needs to figure out to be effective if the knee is going to be painful throughout the playoffs. At the same time, excuse me, I don't want him going out there and looking like he did against New York. I don't want him going out there and looking bad. That doesn't help anybody. Trying to play fast and play that, when you can't Euro step around a stationary defender like Jaylen Brown does, when you try to rise up over a guy in the mid-range and you get blocked, that kind of stuff is harmful. It raises the question of, did something get especially painful after that Knicks game? Did something come up and make it so Jaylen was like, you know what, not worth it? So regardless of what it is, he's sitting. I'm glad that he's sitting. I've been advocating for him to sit. I understand Jaylen's point from last week where he's like, it's weird. People used to say you've got to play through this kind of stuff, and now we're in a spot where people need to sit. But the point why we say Jaylen needs to sit is because he's so important. I think this is the overarching kind of point here that maybe is misunderstood, and why I've been hard on Jaylen Brown, and people think that comes off as being negative or hating or picking on him. No, none of that stuff. It's because he is so important and that none of this matters. Him playing in these games didn't matter to anything besides the 65 games. Jaylen Brown is so critically important to the Boston Celtics in their success in winning a championship. He was the finals MVP. He was the conference finals MVP. All of that stuff is still necessary for the team to succeed. So my picking on him, quote unquote, my being tough on him is because he's that important. The Celtics had the second seed locked up. If the Celtics were fighting for a playoff spot, then I'd be like, gut it out. Let's go. If the Celtics were in a spot where they weren't as good on the road, or if I felt the Cavs or the Knicks or somebody else were so like where home court was so important and they were in a battle for home court, I'd say, yes, fight it out. There are times to fight through the injury. When the Celtics were guaranteed the second spot and almost certainly no changes were happening, for him to keep playing through it, it felt like it wasn't about playing through it for team success. It felt a little bit more of something else. The Celtics need Jaylen Brown to win a championship. They do. Maybe they can do it without him, but that just makes the next injury, a potential Porzingis injury, just almost impossible to weather. They need Jaylen to be some version of himself, close to himself. So that's why I've been hard on him. And that's why I'm happy that he's sitting. Get it right. Try to get it right as much as you can. I don't know what it is, how you can do it, but if there's a way to do it, then do it. So it comes from a place of Jaylen is critical. That's where this all came from. Let's get to the mailbag questions. Math. We love math. There's a math game the Celtics need to win to win a championship here. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that potential Kristaps Porzingis injury. That's all coming up next. Today's show is brought to you by DoorDash. If you're watching the NBA here and somebody drops that 50-point game, which people have been getting close, Luka got close to it. Somebody drops a 50 spot, you can go ahead and log into your Dash Pass and score a huge deal the next day. Any player that scores 50 or more in a game unlocks 50% off your next order, up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight. So if you want to celebrate by ordering wings, pizza, and burgers from your favorite spot, you can get those delivered right to your door. With Dash Pass, you can also stay up late, watch highlights, and order a midnight snack. If you want lunch the next day, maybe you can order lunch for you and a couple of coworkers. You can get that with $0 delivery fees, reduced service fees, and now you save even more with this offer. Or maybe you can plan a watch party for that next day. Sign up for Dash Pass and get ready to save. When a player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the next day, up to $10 off. You can use promo code NBA50. You have to use NBA50 as the promo code from noon to midnight the day after a 50-point game on eligible orders at participating merchants. This is a regular season thing. There's only a couple days left for this, so keep an eye on it. You must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Would love it if you signed up for the new Locked On Celtics newsletter at LockedOnDaily.com. Go to LockedOnDaily.com, click on the Locked On Celtics logo, enter your email. I'll send you an email Monday through Friday. Celtics coverage, NBA coverage, fantasy coverage, links to Celtics coverage around the net, deals, coupons, all kinds of stuff. Maybe I'll sneak a recipe in there one of these days. But it's a fun newsletter. Helps you keep up with the podcast if you've missed the show, especially. So go check that out. Open it up and read it. I think you'll enjoy it. Mailbag time. Again, mailbag questions can go to johnkaralis.com/mailbag, johnkaralis.com/mailbag. Enter your email. Go do all that stuff. Send me your question. I'll ask it when I have a show like this. So we're going to get to Kevin, who sent in, is the Celtics success just winning the math game, as a lockdown savant Matt Moore likes to say, or is the Celtics game more than one note, hit more threes? Okay, the math game is important, but the math game isn't just threes. The math game is more field goal attempts, which means you have forced more turnovers or you've gotten more offensive rebounds. As I've said on the show before, one of the stats that I look at, if I'm trying to catch up on a game, if I haven't watched the game, I just want to check the box score, I look at the field goal attempts first. If one team has put up 100 and the other team has put up 80 something, I'm like, oh, okay. Wonder why that is. It's got to be turnovers or offensive rebounds. That the teams don't just go up and down, and one team takes 20 more shots. Maybe sometimes there's one team gets fouled a lot, and a lot of the shots I've seen 80 free throw attempts. I mean, 80, not 80 free throw attempts, 80 field goal attempts, but like 25 free throw attempts. And that throws things off. That's another place to look. If the turnovers aren't there, if the offensive rebounds aren't there, then I look at the fouls, and I think one team did try to essentially put up 100 shots, but then just got fouled a lot, and they lived at the line. So you can tell a lot just starting at the field goal attempts. So that's part of the math. So don't just say the math game and it's more threes than twos. That is part of it. Turnovers, offensive rebounds, rebounds in general, assists, because that helps the ball movement, and obviously assists leads to made baskets. So if you have a lot of assists, you've shot a good percentage. You can now you're piecing together the little bits of the story that a box score can tell you beyond just the numbers. A lot of field goal attempts, a lot of assists. That means high percentage. You can assume that the ball, the good ball movement, good player movement, the pace was great, all of that stuff. So it is a math game. The success is winning the math game. For Boston specifically, all of that stuff that I said organically leads to more threes. The Celtics are built so when Jayson Tatum or Jaylen Brown, when healthy, drives, or Derek White drives, or Drew Holiday drives, they draw so much attention that the right play is the kickouts. And those kickouts kick and then a swing out to the wings, right? You kick it to the corner, somebody closes out, you make one more pass, that top of the, or that three at the break, generally open. That leads to more threes. Now, you could also drive that again and draw the defense again and kick it out to the opposite corner, and that generates a three. Three-pointers, when you're playing the right way, organically happen for the Boston Celtics. So that's winning the math game. It's not one note, hit more threes. It's generate good threes. If you're generating good shots, the Celtics, if they're driving, hitting the paint, driving, kicking, swinging, that's going to be a 53-pointer game, and it's going to be a high percentage game, and the Celtics are going to win. So do not take it as make more threes. It's generate good looks, and that's how you do it. Tyler asks, what do you think the chances are for winning a chip again if KP gets hurt during the playoffs like last year? As I said, if Jaylen is also hurt, if Jaylen is also not himself, those chances dwindle a lot. If Porzingis gets hurt, depends on the timing. First round, not a problem. Second round, a little bit more of a problem, but doable. Cleveland, assuming it's Cleveland. OKC, assuming it's OKC, especially if it's OKC. I think that would be tough. Celtics, OKC finals without Kristaps Porzingis, I'm afraid of that. I am afraid of that. Not going to lie. If OKC gets there, we don't know. But the chances are, I don't have an obvious answer for you because it does depend on when it happens, if it happens. So he can miss the first round. He can miss the second round. The later it happens, the worse the odds get. Adam asks, could we see current Celtics take a sweetheart deal to stay in Boston and win? The track record of role players who have left ain't great. Marcus in Memphis, Grant Williams in Dallas, Time Lord, Malcolm Brogdon, not to mention Al in Philly. The point is valid in that situation matters. Situation matters so much. The league is full of capable players. For example, J.D. Davison. In the Celtics situation, I don't see it. Maybe he goes to another team. Maybe he goes to Utah. Maybe he goes to, I don't know, pick a team, Detroit, whatever. Who knows? And he finds a role somewhere even as a backup. It just works. Situation matters. We saw it with Delano Banton. Remember when Delano Banton got traded last season and he went to Portland and all of a sudden everybody was like, oh, why didn't he do that in Boston? Well, because it's tough to do that in Boston when he's playing ahead or behind all of those guys. So it is part of the equation for a Luke Cornett, let's say, who has to look at a team that may say, hey, we want you, we want you, we want you. Okay, well, you want me, that's great. And maybe the money is good enough where you got to do it no matter what the situation. But if Boston is off, and I'm just offering, and I'm going to use round numbers, I'm not saying these are the numbers, but just to get something close, if Boston is offering $5 million to Luke Cornett and someone else is offering $7 million, when you get down to the how much am I really getting, how much am I spending, what's my habits, and am I going to be so much happier somewhere else, or am I going to be happy anywhere else for an extra, ultimately, $1 million, maybe? I know I would take an extra $1 million anytime anybody wants to give it to me. But you have to weigh your own personal life in conjunction with your professional life. If your family loves it in Boston and the money's close and the situation is good, then yes, I can see guys taking sweetheart deals or better deals anyway. Anything that's not, market value, I think would count as a sweetheart deal. Al Horford, quality of life is a big thing for him. And I don't think that he wants to uproot his family. So you can offer him less. You can say, hey, league minimum for him is like over $3 million anyway. Maybe you say $4 or $5 million. And you're like, okay, that's fine. And maybe you could get more if he went somewhere else, but who wants to do that for a year or two? Ugh. So yes, I can see some sweetheart deals. Let's talk about Al Horford when I come back. Will he get his number retired? An interesting comp in Celtics history whose number isn't retired. Plus a blast from the past, a name I haven't heard in a while. We'll talk about all of that when I come back. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Make sure you're downloading this Game Time app so you can get yourself tickets to all kinds of things, right? Live sports you probably want to go to a live sports event, but hey, I'm going to Mary J. Blige on Monday night. Game Time comes through with those tickets. If you want to go to a comedy show, Game Time can come through with those tickets. So maybe it's a Red Sox game, baseball is back, or whatever team you enjoy. You can go and check it out and find great seats at a great price using Game Time and Game Time Picks. They have last-minute deals. You can save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, or theater. It makes it really the last-minute ticket is very easy on Game Time. Prices drop very close to the event. So if you're just kind of going on a whim and you say, oh, let me just go there and see. You know what's great about the Garden is you can be like, hey, let's go to one of these awesome places around the Garden. Let's just see if Game Time has a last-minute ticket, and you can pop in on a great deal. Or if for some reason it falls through, there's some awesome places to go out and have lunch or not lunch, dinner, drinks, all of that stuff. But anyway, you have peace of mind because you got seat views before you buy, no surprise fees, lowest price guarantee, all in pricing. You toggle that. You can see the total costs up front. No surprises at all. The lowest price guarantee means you never worry about overpaying. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, the code is LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets. Lowest price guaranteed. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen. Go check out Locked On NBA. I'm going to be there after I'm done with this show. Watched the Pacers and the Cavs. Pacers beat the shorthanded Cavs and have locked up the 4th seed. At least 3rd seed is still in play, which I don't want. I don't want the 3rd seed Pacers. I don't want to see the Pacers in the playoffs. I do not want to go to Indiana. I like all the people in Indiana, but I don't want to go there again. Again? Do I have to? I mean, I will if I have to, but give me a new city. Give me someplace else. But I'll be there with Jake Madison. We'll be talking about all the night's games, so go check that out. wherever you get your podcasts. Let's get back to the mailbag question. Let's rip through rapid fire. I always say rapid fire, and I just blah, blah, blah. I talk, and I cannot get rapid fire. But I'm going to try. Aaron asks, I was thinking about whether Al Horford gets his number retired. I think the best comparison is Rondo. Rondo spent 8 seasons with the Celtics. Al is on season 7. Rondo had more all-stars, more all-defensive teams, more all-NBA teams, led the league in assists 3 times, went to 2 finals and won 1. They both did that. I would love to see Al. Aaron says, I would love to see Al with his number retired, but does he have a shot if it didn't happen for Rondo? And Aaron does know another ring does do it for him, and I agree. Rondo is an interesting case because, and as I say, Rondo is an interesting case, I can feel my voice trailing off in a way that really flies in the face of rapid fire. But Rondo left on bad terms. And Al, I think when he left, was really just trying to escape the Kyrie Irving grease fire. He didn't want to leave. The Sixers were desperate because they were banging their heads against the Celtics wall all this time. And they were like, we can get Al Horford, take him away. Like half his contract, I said at the time, half his contract was for Al Horford. The other half of his contract was for taking him away from the Boston Celtics. It didn't work there, but I understood it. And he came back, and he's been a model citizen. He's been great. Everybody loves Al. He is a pillar of the franchise. And I think because of the whole thing, he might get his number retired. A second championship gets him and, Derek White and Jayson and Jaylen. We're going to have to start doing triple digits at some point, or decimal points or something. Fractional jerseys. Now starting Deuce Tatum, number 1/4. Come on. So I'm not saying Al is guaranteed, but I think he has a better case than Rondo because Rondo, by the end, it was so sour, so bad by the end that he left on bad terms, and I don't think that's going to happen with Al. So I'm leaning Al, yes, and definitely with another championship. Joe K asks, whatever happened to Yam Madar? Wow, I haven't heard Yam Madar in a long time. Yam's been playing overseas. Yam's been playing in Israel and for various teams and has been okay. He's still playing. He's 24 years old. Last I saw, was averaging like 14 points or something somewhere. Not having the type of career where you're like, oh God, he's definitely an NBA player, but also not struggling from what I can see. I haven't watched a ton of them. It's an interesting name to come up all of a sudden because it's like they still do have his rights, and I don't know. He's probably never coming to the NBA. But it does, raise the question of, well, they do need cheap talent, and he's old enough now where he's probably learned a lot and probably figured some things out, right? Is it possible that they could bring him over on a rookie deal? Because he would be on a rookie deal. He's never been signed. Maybe Yam Madar. I don't think so. He hasn't had like a stellar overseas career. I haven't heard anything. And trust me, if he was playing well, somebody in the Celtics sphere would be like, hey, we should be looking at Yam Madar. So I don't think that's ever going to happen. But he's out there. He's playing. Like I said, he's playing in Israel. And he's okay. He's okay. So, but man, how hilarious would it be if next year, like after all of whatever moves they had to make, that Yam Madar as a backup point guard would be the answer. Aaron C asks, is there any campaign to get Casey Jones into the Hall of Fame as a head coach? He's the only coach to win multiple rings to not be inducted. He was named one of the top 15 coaches of all time during the NBA Top 75 release. Justice for KC. You know what, Aaron? I like this. I like it. there are a lot of coaches in there who haven't done nearly as much as KC. Now, after he was done with Boston, it's not like he had a long coaching career. He didn't compile a million wins. He didn't go and do the Doc Rivers, right? He could have done the Doc Rivers thing probably, and maybe built a better kind of historical case for himself. But it was also a different time, man. You know, the mid 80s, the Celtics were ahead of their time hiring black coaches. Obviously, they hired the first one. They've had him. They had Satch Sanders was a coach briefly. They had KC, Doc, Ime, and now Joe Mazzulla. Celtics have been way ahead of the curve when it comes to hiring black coaches, but the NBA wasn't. And so KC probably suffered from this perception that, yeah, I could roll out the balls with a team, Larry Bird and Kevin McHale and Robert Parrish and Bill Walton off the bench, Danny Ainge and Dennis Johnson and all those guys. Probably had that stink on him of, well, anybody could coach these guys to a championship, right? Which is unfair. That in the NBA is a difficult task to keep all those guys together for as long as they were together. That's a difficult task. I think it is time for a reintroduction, I guess is the word I'm looking for. I mean, that's not, but of K.C. Jones into the, Hall of Fame discussion. I think that's a cause that we can take up. KC for the Hall of Fame as a coach. He did a lot here, and he's in as a player. He should be in as a coach. Finally, Chase A asks, I want to know your thoughts on season awards and the situation we have here. Given the minimum games played, the essential tie between Jokic and SGA for MVP, and the recent Draymond Green DPOY push, do you agree with the favorites for these awards or think there's an awarding issue? I don't think Draymond is the favorite for the award. He shouldn't be the favorite. I think don't get confused by betting favorites and actual favorites. People are putting their money on Draymond Green because he's out there making the push. And he's still a hell of a defensive player, but he's not the best defensive player. So be careful about narratives and all of that stuff. But narratives are part of why there is a awarding problem and why I don't have a ballot. I don't want a ballot. I'm cool. I don't want my money. I don't want my votes impacting people's money, because if my vote impacts somebody's money, I hear Brian Windhorst talk about it all the time, and I agree with him. If I'm on the fence about a player and him making all NBA gives him a max or supermax contract possibility, I'm giving it to him based on the supermax, which is not the way you should be going in general, right? In general, I should be diving deep into the stats and figuring out who is actually the more impactful player. And maybe it's the other guy. Maybe it's not. Maybe it doesn't matter. But because money's on the line, I don't want to be the guy that's messing with anybody's money. These guys work hard for it. This is the system and whatever. But I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't think that's fair at all. We shouldn't be voting on that. I don't know who should be, though, because players don't know how to vote on it. Coaches don't know how to vote on it. It should be maybe a split vote like All-Star to some degree, but regardless, I think Jokic is the MVP, but Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is like right there. It is an essential tie. I don't think it matters necessarily, but what happens is people start to break ties based on narratives. People say, well, Jokic has won a couple in a row, or a couple or three or whatever. He's won now. I've lost count. Let's give it to SGA, because SGA is having an MVP season now, and who knows if he's going to have an MVP season next season. I don't like that thought process either. I think you give it to the guy who's having the better season. I happen to think Nikola Jokic is having the better season. I think SGA is having a season that would be an MVP season in almost any other year. It just so happens that Jokic is having an ungodly season, his best season. And that, to me, that's where you get the MVP. And so I think the minimum games thing throws off your All-NBA. Like Kevin Durant has had an All-NBA season. He is going to fall short of the 65 games. You're going to tell me that he doesn't deserve an All-NBA because he played like 63 versus 65? That's tough. I get why the minimum is there. The minimum is there to get guys to play, and the league doesn't want guys feeling like they can play 50 games, a little bit more than half the season, and get all their awards, get all the benefits from playing, but sit. And then, I get that. I get that reasoning as well. It's not perfect. None of this is perfect. So there's not going to be a great system here for handing out these awards. I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to win. I think Jokic is the guy. I don't know who's going to win Defensive Player of the Year. I've heard a lot of conversations. Dyson Daniels, Evan Mobley, Jaren Jackson. I've heard a bunch of different guys. And again, a lot of it's all subjective anyway. Awards are tough. Awards are tough because it's a person's opinion. And sometimes there's a consensus and sometimes there's not. And that when there's not, you get into this gray area where I do think there are problems. But whatever the problems are, there'd be a different set of problems under a different system. And I haven't thought about what the perfect system is going to be because there is no perfect system. There is no perfect podcast, but I hope I got close with this one. So you let me know in the comment section on that YouTube page. It's the place you can give me immediate feedback, share your thoughts, answer these questions yourselves as you're listening to the show. Answer them in the comment section. Let me know. Let other Celtics fans know. There's a lot of Celtics fans in the comment section. Share your thoughts. Make this a home, a hub for Celtics fans. So go ahead and do that. Subscribe. Listen to the podcast Monday through Friday. It's free. Would love to hear you, have you here with me every day. Everydayers, thank you. Shout out to you all. I do appreciate you being with me Monday through Friday. I hope you are willing, this is me landing the plane smoothly, to share the podcast and tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.